I definitely think he ran a lot more than I thought he was going to. I've talked to Jordan about making some shoes that are a little bit faster for us, so maybe we can catch him. I hope for the fans he puts on the kind of fight that he said he was going to do the first time, and that he's saying he's going to do this time. I'm not saying to go toe-to-toe with Gennady, but I'm saying to at least be there and throwing punches with the intent of trying to knock him out instead of throwing punches in desperation, which is what he did at the end of the fight, in the last part of the fight. He threw 3 or 4 shots just to look flashy for the judges, and then he moved. That's not the kind of fight that I think we all want to see, and that's not the kind of fight he's talking about doing. So if he's intent on knocking him out, there's going to be moments in there where they're going to be close enough to hurt each other. And both of them are big punches.
Plus, it was the first time Canelo got booed in his career.
Yeah, at the end of the fight, after the decision was rendered, I would render to say it was 75% Canelo fans in the stands, and mostly because they were Mexican. And he got booed when he was being interviewed. They wouldn't allow him the interview. Why? Because they didn't like the tactics. They want a fight.
Can you answer that?
Just I know my homework. Just I understand what I need just for victory for this time.
Do you want to see him stand his ground a little bit more than he did in the first fight?
No, first fight is first fight. I feel, just not 100%. And the same Canelo, he feel not 100%. I believe the second fight is much bigger for us and more action, more drama.
Gennady, how confident were you after that first fight? Once the bell rang, went to your corner.
I feel very comfortable. Just I never just with my hand. Just after this fight, I just 100%.
You thought you won the last fight?
Yes, of course.
HBO thought he won also. Harold Letterman had it scored 8-4. That's how we had it scored. It wasn't, the box stats show that he threw more punches in 10 out of 12 rounds. And when people say that Canelo threw more power punches or flashier punches, when Triple G gets hit with the uppercut or a right hand and just keeps going forward, how effective are those power punches? His jab is just as hard as most people's power punches.
You were coming off a tough fight with Daniel Jacobs, and Canelo wasn't coming off a tough fight. Now you've had a lot of time to rest. Do you think you'll become better this time around?
Yes, I have a lot of time. You're right. Just right now, just I have second fight. Is new fight. It's not second fight. It's new fight because everything is ready for amazing show.
Do you think it's possible?
Is there any argument for your partner to have for any specific judges, neutral judges, or Nevada judges?
No, the judges are going to become a focus because of the controversial nature of the first fight, especially the judging. Look, we thought the referee did a great job, Kenny Bayless. Thought Dave Moretti scored it correctly. We had it one more round than Dave Moretti scored it, but we can't complain with those 2 Nevada officials. Because of the controversial nature of the other 2 scorecards, there's going to be much more focus on who the officials are. There's going to be a big spotlight on the judges going into this fight, not after the fight, because the judging not only affects the last fight, it affects his career. Now he has a draw on his record. It affects the negotiation for this fight, and there's definitely going to be a big spotlight placed on who the Nevada Commission selects. We will be able to object to any officials that we think aren't going to be satisfactory, and the same thing with Golden Boy. Hopefully, on May 5, the judges won't play a part in it. Canelo says he's coming to knock out Triple G. Gennady's going to do everything he can to keep it out of the judges' hands, and then we won't have any controversy.
Gennady, do you feel any different right now in 2018 physically than, let's say, 2014?
I think I feel the same. So I feel my power. I believe for my style, and I think with my people and all who support me, my team. No, I feel the same.
So you don't feel as though you're slowing down or getting old?
Yeah, just different class. Right now, just Canelo and different guy.
Abel and Gennady, is there anything what are you going to do differently to prepare for this fight that you didn't do?
Well, we won the first fight 8-4, so to do something dramatically different would be foolish on our part. Obviously, we're going to go over the tape again. We've gone over it a couple times and modify a little bit some of the things that we've done. But the point is, Gennady has to go into the ring at 100% Gennady, not trying to adapt to somebody else. We have to do what we do best, and if that's not good enough on that particular night, it ain't good enough. The the greatest fighter Mexico ever had, who I molded him by, was Julio Cesar Chavez. He kept this same style for 130 some fights. Was undefeated until 89, 80, 90, whatever it was. So it's not a matter of changing. It's a matter of just making sure that we do the best we can do.
Is it a little more personal this time around? After there's been a lot of talk between the first fight, Canelo saying that he's going to knock you out and this. Now that you fought him 12 rounds, do you want a little bit more? Maybe?
I feel very comfortable. This is the biggest fight for us. 12 rounds, it's normal.
They both know each other well.
Yeah.
I mean, they went 12 rounds. They sparred together. I think the first fight, they have respect for each other. Gennady still respects Canelo. I think he was disappointed with the judging, and I think that puts an edge both on him and on Abel for the training. Abel has a great quote. He said that Canelo's the one who needs to make the adjustment. His transmission was stuck in reverse in the first fight, so he needs to make the adjustment in the second fight.
What were your thoughts on the HBO commentary? I saw something from Gennady today that he thought maybe the commentary was unfair.
Well, it's interesting when they have an expert judge and Harold Letterman, and he's scoring it one way, and then some of the commentators are arguing with his score. So we felt, or Gennady felt that it might have been a little bit biased towards Canelo. But look, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Again, this all sets up the background for this rematch. I think, I know that everything that we've felt so far since we've announced the rematch, it just feels like it's a much bigger fight. Gennady's on a different level now. Canelo's on a different level. When they set the third highest gate in boxing history, when have a champion from Kazakhstan fighting Canelo, champion from Mexico, they complement each other so well that they need each other to put on these type of mega fights.
Were you okay with Las Vegas? Were you want New York? Were you have a preference to where to fight?
I feel very comfortable, of course. Yeah. This is boxing.
So you're not worried about the judges in Las Vegas at all?
I'm a boxer. No, I'm not nervous.
Gennady, in the first fight, Canelo took a lot of nasty punches from you. What makes you think this time you can knock him out? Showing that considering he showed he could take your punches.
This is boxing. Nobody knows. Everybody has a chance. Right now it's a different fight, and it's a new fight.
It's a new fight, but how are you gonna approach it? As a round 13 or as a new episode?
It's a new fight.
Abel, do you corner any differently in this fight, in the sense that even if you feel as though you're ahead in the late rounds, understanding what happened in the last fight, do you just stick to the whip?
I think that that's always going to be in the back of our minds. By the way, Mike, nothing is personal about this fight. Nothing is personal. It has to be business at all times. I think that if it's a close enough fight, it will be in the back of our minds, making sure. But not only in mine, though. I think that he is smart enough to understand that we're in Vegas again, regardless how they determine the judges. If it's getting towards the end and we think it's a close fight, of course I'm going to keep the whip on him. Of course I'm going to continue to enforce the fact that we're in Vegas and that we don't want to happen what happened the first time. But I think they know each other well enough for the 12 rounds that it's going to be a much better fight where there won't be, I don't think there will be a controversy because they're coming out to hurt each other. I think both guys understand what they have to do.
Gennady, what do you felt that you did wrong that made the judges score it a draw? And what do you think of that?
I'm a fighter. I feel very comfortable. I feel I win this fight. Last fight.
The 118-110 scorecard.
I think
she had it filled up.
I think she was the only one that scored it that way. I don't think anyone had. Even Canelo himself didn't have winning 10 rounds. So look, neither fighter won 10 rounds. I mean, we can be frank about that. We've never claimed to have won 10 rounds. But if anyone had won that many rounds, the argument is Triple G, because he outlanded Canelo 10 out of the 12 rounds. And he was the one coming forward. He was the one being the aggressor. Look, he made Canelo fade in the middle rounds because of his conditioning, his non-stop pressure. I mean, you have to give Canelo credit for fighting the last 3 rounds, but the middle rounds, Gennady dominated, and there was no question that he won those rounds. There's a lot of controversy with one of the judges' scores that gave him 10 rounds to Canelo, but one of the 2 rounds that she gave The other judge gave it to Canelo. If he didn't give that round 7 to Canelo, then we wouldn't be talking about having a draw. And so there was just a lot of odd things with the judging that night, and hopefully on May 5, it won't come to that. We'll have a clear, decisive winner.
No matter what happens in this fight, you keep fighting as a middleweight a couple of years ago moving to 168.
I don't know. Right now, I feel very comfortable 160.
Gennady, Tom, Abel, talking about this controversial decision, the first fight. What boxing needs to do in order to avoid this controversy? What can be done in the future if it's something?
Well, I think first of all, our own people in our own sport have to fix this somehow. I don't know what the solution is, but it's only hurting us as a business, us as a sport. There's a lot of people being turned off by just what happened the other night, in my opinion anyway, with Estrada and the Thai guy. I thought Estrada won the fight, and there's a lot of people, there's a lot of journalists that I've talked to that thought the same thing. So I don't know if it requires a rating of judges so that the best ones can do the best fights, or the most qualified can do the most important fights, and they're rated on each individual performance, just like they do in the NFL. The guys that are in the Super Bowl are the best in they rate them. So maybe that's something that they have to look at. But it definitely hurts our sport when things like that happen in these fights.
Maybe something
that was, Abel's comment on that is, I think that fight was much closer than the fight we're talking about. I thought Rungvisai won, but everyone's has their own opinion on it. With the Canelo fight, I don't think it was so wide. If HBO was going to score it 8 rounds to 4, it doesn't. We just felt that was a more dominant performance. But what Gennady was most disappointed in is, there's boxing fans that only tune in for the big fights, and if they see a controversial scorecard going 10 rounds to 2 against the winner, then we have a problem with the sport. And those are the things that Gennady says it's not respect for the sport of boxing. And we just have to. It's not the first controversial decision in boxing. I'm sure it's not going to be the last one. But we have to, especially for this particular fight. It's the biggest fight in the sport. We have to pick the 3 best and most competent judges for the rematch.
Gennady, was Canelo better than you expected the last fight? Did he surprise you in any way?
And yes and no. Yes, because just decision, and no, because he's not ready 100% and I'm not ready 100%. Just like that.
So, as you look, as you watch the fight, have you watched the fight? Are there things that you saw that you could have done better in the second fight?
So on 2 times. One time inside, it's mine in ring, and second time just I listen to the commentator. I know. I have a plan. I'll show you in May.
Have you already given Nevada a list of judges that you want to judge this fight?
No, we haven't started that process yet. Probably next week when things settle down, I'll be in contact with Bob Bennett along with Eric Gomez, and we'll start that process just to make sure both sides are comfortable with the officials, and naturally Nevada is going to be the one that makes the final decision. But we certainly, both sides have the right to object to any particular judge that they feel isn't going to be fair or competent.
Gennady, it looked after the first fight like a lot of Mexican and Latino fans really likes you better than before. What can you say about that?
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much just for my support. Just because this is not Latino, this is true boxing fan. Who watch fight, it's live. Just everybody understands who win. Everybody knows.
Tom, are you calling the first fight a robbery? Because it seemed like most people thought the fight was close, even if most believed he won.
Well, look, we thought he won. We thought he won 8 rounds of 4. He's a champion. Usually you have to come and take the belts from the champion. You can't win a fight necessarily being outlanded 10 out of 12 rounds. You can't necessarily win the fight going backwards, fighting off the ropes, being elusive. And you have to give any doubt to the aggressor. Gennady was effectively aggressive. If he was just coming forward, not landing punches, then okay, you have an argument. Canelo was making a miss, but if he outlanded Canelo, then we strongly feel that he won the fight, as I would say 90% of the fans and the media as well. It wasn't that difficult to score. If you give all the close rounds to Canelo, I think even Dave Moretti's scorecard, 7 rounds to 5. I think a lot of the close rounds went to Canelo on his scorecard.
Gennady, you're the champion, but how do you feel about Canelo forcing his way to be the star again, to be the A side again? Being that you're the champion, you didn't lose, he didn't take the title. How do you feel about that?
I feel like a champion. I feel very comfortable. I don't know. It doesn't matter for me what you want, Canelo.
Hey, well, how do you feel about that? About Canelo, not taking a step back and still feeling like he's the star of the promotion when it's pretty obvious that Triple G is also a star.
It's not an ego thing with us. We know that Gennady's got 3 of the major belts. Canelo has nothing. He got beat the last time. He's going to get beat again. Gennady will still be champion.
Obviously, you won't know until pay-per-view numbers are in, but is there a financial silver lining to the draw, given that people are going to be excited for this rematch? It's set on a tee because there was no clear winner, or is the amount that you lost from not being coming back to the winner in the first fight that cost you?
Well, we made a lot of concessions the first time just to get the fight. I mean, Canelo vacated the title when the WBC mandated he needed to fight him. So I think he lost a lot of respect from a lot of fans not fighting Triple G at that time. At the same time, we have to give Canelo credit. He didn't have to, once he vacated the title, he wasn't forced or obligated to fight Triple G, but I think the pressure he was getting on social media and from his fans really forced that fight. It just feels like with the draw and the controversy, even though it might have not have put us in the best position as far as negotiating the rematch, I think it makes the rematch bigger because it puts more spotlight on it. The controversy puts more spotlight on it, and whoever wins the second fight, I really think these guys, as I said before, they need each other, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's as competitive. And Mike, I'm not saying the first fight wasn't competitive. We have to give Canelo credit. A lot of people thought Gennady was going to walk right through Canelo, and Canelo went 12 rounds with him. We're not trying to disparage his performance. We just think, in our minds at least, that Gennady won the fight, and it wasn't that hard to score, especially whether it's live or on the replay. At the same time, we have respect for Canelo. He did fight in spurts. Whatever he did, he impressed the judges, just like somehow one of the judges in the Mayweather fight gave him a draw. So whatever he did impressed the judges. I don't know, maybe it's his red hair. Who knows? It just, he seems to be getting at least one scorecard in the big fights up there that goes, widely his way. But, that's where I think Gennady, look, he did a great fight the first time. There's always room for improvement. Abel and Gennady will sit down and they'll try to make it even more clear for the judges for the rematch.
Gennady, do you feel that Canelo has more pressure coming into this fight?
No, I don't feel.
Abel?
In a way, towards his fans, because of his fans, I think that he's talking so much that he's putting the pressure on himself. It's not a pressure of the fight, but the pressure on himself to deliver what he did deliver the first time. He's even talking even harder than he was the first time. The first time was 10 rounds. This time we're not going to need the judges. So I think because of that, he's putting pressure on himself. And maybe that, for all of us as fans, that just means that we're going to witness one of the classic fights like in the past, the Mexican fights.
There are fighters throughout history that really excellent rematches and making adjustments. I believe this is Gennady's first rematch. I think he's going to prove to be one of those fighters that, once he has 12 rounds with somebody, it's that much better.
Well, in the gym, and most fighters in the gym, once they see somebody for for a couple weeks, and it becomes easier. But then again, Canelo's also rematch with Gennady. Also, he knows him. Also, I think that for us, it's going to be a benefit because for us, it should be the kind of fight that we were waiting for the first time.